These notes go over 6.3, which is using ratios and rates to solve problems. So essentially it's looking at word problems and using ratios and ratio tables and double number lines to solve them. So in the first one, it says using tables to compare ratios. That's where I'm going to pick up. And it's talking about lemonade recipes. So Anna's recipe for lemonade calls for 2 cups of lemonade concentrate and 3 cups of water. Bailey's recipe calls for 3 cups of lemonade concentrate and 5 cups of water. So just looking at that, you can already see that these two girls are using different recipes to make their lemonade. So in A, we're going to talk about Anna's recipe. And first, we need the ratio. And it wants the ratio of concentrate to water. So reread the first sentence. Anna's recipe for lemonade calls for 2 cups of lemonade concentrate. So our first number is 2. And 3 cups of water. So you could write it like this, or like this. And now we're going to fill out a ratio table for her. So let's see here. We put Anna's original ratio of 2 to 3 to start the ratio table. So 2 cups of concentrate and 3 cups of water. And then they're taking that original ratio of 2 to 3 and they're multiplying it each time. So the next numbers, the next set of numbers in the table, they took 2 and multiplied it by 2 to get 4. And then you're going to take 3 and multiply it by 2, which would be 6. As long as you're multiplying by the same number on the top and the bottom of the table, then you have equivalent ratios. And notice, like I literally said, they're taking the 2 and the 3 and multiplying it each time. So over here, if they're multiplying 3 times 3 on the bottom to get 9, then we'd have to do 2 times 3, which would be 6. Then they took 3 and multiplied it by 5 right here to get 15. So we got to do 2 times 5, which would give us 10. So ratio tables aren't that scary. Now we got to work with Bailey's recipe. So Bailey's recipe of concentrate to water, or ratio, not recipe. Read the original sentence. It is 3 cups of lemonade concentrate to 5 cups of water. So you could write it like that, or that. Now let's fill out her table. Starts essentially the same. We put our original ratio first, so 3 to 5. And then they took 3 and multiplied it by 3 to get 9. Now we got to do 5 times 3, which is going to give us 15. They did 3 times 4 on the top. So 5 times 4 on the bottom is going to give us 20. And then they didn't give us a whole lot, but they gave us enough information to get started here. We know that 5 times whatever is going to equal 25. And we should know basic multiplication facts that 5 times 5 equals 25. So then 3 times 5 equals 15. Now in C, it says find 2 columns, 1 in each table, in which the amount of water is the same. So if you're paying attention, water's on the bottom row of each table. So Anna's water, we had 3 cups, 6 cups, 9 cups, 15 cups. Bailey's was 5, 15, 20, and 25. So the only one where they had the same amount of water was when they both had 15 cups. I'm going to circle that here, and then I'm going to circle that here. Now notice the amount of concentrate is different. So in D, it says whose recipe makes stronger lemonade? Well, if Anna has 10 cups of concentrate and Bailey only has 9, then that would make Anna's lemonade stronger, because the more concentrate you put into the water, the stronger the lemonade is going to taste. So I'm going to pause and type that out. So Anna's lemonade would be stronger because when compared to 15 cups of water, her lemonade had 10 cups of concentrate and Bailey's only had 9. On E, it says compare the ratios, and these are the ratios we just worked with. So 10 to 15 is larger than 9 to 15, and then these are the original ratios. So Anna's lemonade was stronger than Bailey's. Anna's original ratio is 2 to 3. Bailey's was the one that was 3 to 5, and since Anna's is stronger, it's still going to be her that wins, her that is greater in this case. So on the next one, using rates to make predictions. Janet drives from Clarkson to Humboldt in 2 hours. Suppose Janet drives for 10 hours. If she maintains the same driving rate, can she drive more than 600 miles? Justify your answer. So they've got this beautiful map from Clarkson to Humboldt. I went a little further than Humboldt. Is 112 miles, and it took her 2 hours. So this here is called a double number line, and it's essentially the same exact concept as a ratio table, which is what these are. It just looks different, but it's the same thing. So at 0 hours, she had traveled 0 miles. At 2 hours, she had traveled 112 miles, and that's what they tell us in the story. That's why it's blue. And then they just started multiplying. So they did 2 times 4, or 2 times 2 and got 4, 112 times 2. And then they did 112 times 3 to get this, and then 2 times 3 to get 6. And then they multiplied both by 4, and then they did 2 times 4. And then now's where we come in, because 2 times 5 is 10, but then we got to do 112 times 5 to get 560. I need to make that a little bigger. There we go. So it says, explain how Janet's rate for 2 hours is represented on the double number line. So I'm going to type while you guys handwrite, because you don't have the ability to type on the paper. It's very similar to a ratio table. You simply multiply, I can't spell, the terms by the same quantity and be sure they are equivalent. So that's what these blue lines are. We were just multiplying by the same numbers, and we were increasing by 1 technically each time. On B, describe the relationship between Janet's rate for 2 hours and the other rates shown on the double number line. Well, let's see. In this specific case, we were multiplying, I can't type at all. We were multiplying the original ratio by the same numbers, but increased by 1 each time. And then it says complete the number line, which we've already done. So we're on to the last one. At this rate, can Janet drive more than 600 miles in 10 hours? Well, look at that's what we had to solve. So in 10 hours, right here, there's so many arrows on this page. In 10 hours, she had only traveled 560 miles. So the answer to that question would be no. And then it says explain, so I would just say she can only travel 560 miles in 10 hours. I know I had the advantage because I was able to type and you were not, but make sure you have all of that wrote down, and then you'll go on to the next assignment.